the voice of the horse is the NHA. Obviously, we need to make sure that they are catered for, looked after, not only before and after their racing careers, but after following their racing career, where the majority of their life will actually follow from, the 5-6-year-olds that generally are active in the racing industry as we speak. So it's imperative that we look at options, how we can improve on the afterlife of racehorses, and it's something that's very much on the top of our mind at all times.
Well, I think supposedly we could go back to the very beginning at the National Yearling Sales, where the person that puts his hand up and signs on the dotted line should be aware that they're not just buying a horse's racing career, that they're buying a responsibility for something that's been taken away from its mother as a racehorse, which may fail.
Absolutely, and it's a pity that enthusiasm that we see at the sales is not evident after the horse's racing career, because that is where the issues arise. With our particular industry in South Africa, we've been through a lot over the last couple of years. A lot of it has been COVID inflicted upon us. There hasn't been a lot of options for horses that are retiring from racing, even before COVID. And with the financial pressures of COVID, we find that we even are in a more dire situation. So where we can improve on this area, we need to take cognizance of any improvement that we can do and look after the horse following its racing career.
Well, I guess that the first port of call is the owner himself. If the owner should fail in his endeavour to find a suitable home for that horse where he's going to be cared for, and let's make this clear right now, a racehorse is not just any horse. It can't just be chucked out in the veld. No matter how much grass there is, it's not going to survive.
No, the racehorse is a very fragile animal, as you are aware. And I'm pleased that you mentioned the owner, because our rules actually cater for the owner. So there are a number of options that we've introduced that are parts and parcel of our rules of racing, and it all comes back to the owner. The owner can transfer the horse into another ownership if he so desires. In other words, it can be relocated to another centre or to another owner who can house the horse or stable the horse as he sees fit. The other option is for the horse to be surrendered to an official horse care unit. Another option is for the horse to be humanely euthanized, or for the horse to enter a breeding establishment for the purposes of breeding. Otherwise, the other option is if you want to put your horse onto an auction for selling, then that horse has to have what we call a second career assessment form, where a licensed veterinary surgeon will do the inspection, will fill out the form, and will confirm if that horse is suitable for another career outside of racing. Now, once that is done by a veterinary surgeon, that absolves the owner of any further responsibilities. And that is also very important if it goes onto an auction, because we don't have any control where that horse may end up following its racing career and having passed through the auction lot.
Obviously, with my dad being in horse racing, it's been my whole 19 years. I remember being little in Durban and going to the track, always with horses. Then I moved to Cape Town and I started lessons, and then we moved here. And then, I got told about Dollar. And it was kind of like, okay, let's try it. After about 3 years, I got him. So it was quite long before I got my own horse. And the minute I sat on him, I was like, okay, this is like my soulmate. But he kind of found me.
Fortunately, we have a lot of good people in and out of the industry that love the horses. But again, I go back to the fact that there aren't enough good homes for these horses following their racing career.
Well, during our discussion, you mentioned a horse care unit. The fundraising for those projects and the education of the people that work there is probably one of the most important undertakings that the NHA really has on its hands.
Absolutely, yes. It's something we always like to assist with. There's never enough funding for this type of units. The work that they do is astonishing. They're on a shoestring budget. I've been there personally at the unit when they've had calls to go and look at horses or retrieve horses from dire situations. I was there a couple of months ago where they were called out to save 20-odd horses, and they were ready to go and get these horses. That's the type of passion that is evident from the people that work there. But they do it for the very love of the horse, and they're always short of funds. It's something that we always look at assisting. There can never be enough fundraising initiatives to assist the unit. We see it on a day-to-day basis. My daughter has one of the horses that were at the unit, and we now keep the horse as a pet on the farm. And there are many people that go there and sponsor horses, that take horses from the unit, train them up to be decent jumpers, dressage horses, even cross-country horses. I think we can always appreciate that the thoroughbred racehorse is an equine athlete, and there's a lot of scope for them in any career following races. And I think that's where we have to educate people, that the equine athlete is definitely something that you can forge a relationship with and get a lot of joy from, and look after it for those years post-racing.
Well, you cited an example prior to us going live relating to your investigating officer, which is very heartwarming and almost gut-wrenching to think that such action has to be taken. We'd love to hear that story.
Yes, I was actually in Cape Town one day when I got a call from our senior investigating officer, and he's a hard man, but he was in tears, and he said he was at one of these horse abattoirs and he was looking in the eyes of a grey thoroughbred that was destined to go through this horse abattoir, and he said he just couldn't have the thought enter his mind that this horse was going to be euthanized. And he made an offer on the spot for this horse. They charged him what they would have charged for in terms of its meat value, which he paid for. I'm pleased to say that horse is now very much loved by Nicole, our investigator's daughter. It's jumping 80 centimeters. She really gets on with the horse very well. In fact, I've been told that she can't wait to get there every day to go and visit the horse. And she really dotes on this grey horse. It's everything to her. I think it's advanced her life, it's advanced her studies. It gives her that something to look forward to in her life, and she's forged a very close relationship with Midnight, as they affectionately call her.
Like after school, come straight here, spend the afternoon with him, have my lesson. It's like the detox of the week. So if I had a rough day at school, I know I have Friday lessons and him to cheer me up. I think when we got him, he didn't used to eat his food, he would hardly eat. And he was scared of carrots, terrified of the horse box. It was quite scary because I know that there's other horses that are going through this. He's still a bit scared of horse boxes, but he's much, much better.
I absolutely love him. He's my best friend and one of the best horses I've ridden.
I think Midnight and every other horse as well is actually probably the best therapist that you can find anywhere. So after a hard week's work, we as a family come here on a Saturday and we all enjoy the horse riding and the show jumping, and I think that's our therapy, so it's also a blessing for us.
I believe horses find you, so I guess maybe he found me. He was stabled at my trainer's yard with another girl, and they just happened to ask me to ride him that day and give him some exercise, and I jumped one jump and I fell in love with him. And I decided to take him on. I asked the owners if I could take him for them and sell him because the girl was going to university and needed to sell him. So she gave me the opportunity to have the ride on him and then obviously sell him to, a potential buyer. And I just loved him and I landed up buying him for myself.
We were unfortunately involved in a hijacking. My wife, her mother and my two daughters that was 2 and 4 years at the time. And we went to therapists. And at the end of the day, the best therapist was in fact the horses. So we came here to Sitay Equestrian Park, and my children started doing show jumping. And I do not believe that there's any better therapist than a horse. They truly are good for a man's soul. They really are.
So he's become your heart horse.
He has. He's as brave as a lion, and he grows in the ring. He's tiny, as you can see, but when he gets in the ring, he puffs himself up and he's game for anything. But I don't want to break him. So he's a winning horse at 1.35 m. At 1.35, he's got a good few classes to win still, hopefully. I think his competitive spirit needs to come first. I think, like I said to you, he'll do anything I ask him. So he probably would do it if I asked him, but then I don't think he would jump again. So in order to keep him sound and happy, I think 1.35 is where he's winning and happy, and that's probably where I want to keep him.